Alrighty, and sorry, you'll see we're doing this a little bit different today, and we are here. Carden, you there?
What's up?
Cool. So we are live. Like I said, we would have Carden on today some way, despite him being on vacation. So what's up, you guys? How's everyone doing today? And yeah, so today we're gonna do things a little bit differently because me and Carden are in the same place. We can't do things exactly the same way we normally would. But anyways, I thought one of the big news stories, we were talking about this a couple days ago when one of the largest nations in the world, India, blocked the use of TikTok within their country, citing national security reasons, as India and China have soldiers killing each other at the border. So you could argue they have some conflict going on between the two nations. And then today we saw, I believe it was Mike Pompeo, but someone came in from the State Department and said they are looking at potentially in the United States banning TikTok, citing again security issues. Now, I have been for banning TikTok for as long as TikTok existed because I hate it for many reasons. But I thought it was interesting to talk about. We talked about it a little bit before with India, and I kind of brought it up there, the concept that, well, it definitely makes a lot of sense for if India and China are escalating towards, I don't know, border conflicts that are violent, bad stuff. It would make sense that, yeah, you would not want citizens from your country downloading an app that sends their information to the country you're having issues with. But it's interesting if the United States now openly talking about it. Now, there's also the angle of we were talking about, are there a lot of Indian TikTok competitors at the moment? Not that I know of. I'm sure something's filled the void. Here's the other interesting thing, right? Let's say America does ban TikTok from being installed in American devices in America through American stores. That would only push people towards Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, which are all American companies from what I understand. So that is interesting as well.
From the very beginning I just signed up for TikTok for another channel that I have where I do pest control tips because it seems to reward people that say, "Whoa, look at this crazy thing." So, I can't say I'm anti TikTok, but I have to say I've never trusted it from the beginning because I also know I have probably about 2 or 3 actor friends of mine that had invested a lot of time and energy back when TikTok, I believe, was called Musically. Am I correct, Cody? Does that ring a bell to you?
More or less, yeah. It's functionally the same thing, yes.
Yeah, and there was, from what I understand, basically this promise that if you get in at the ground level and you start producing a lot of content for us and you become like these stars that we make on our platform just to show that, hey, we can have big stars just like Instagram can have big stars, and just like Facebook and all these other platforms can have big followings, that hey, we can have ours too. That you'll be rewarded and we will start doing revenue sharing with you once we get there, once we change, once we IPO, once all that other stuff. All of those things happened and they never opened up the payment to the people that were putting a lot of content on those platforms. So I always thought, dude, who are these guys? Who are these jerks? And it wasn't until I realized it was owned by the Chinese where I just thought, oh, okay, that makes sense, because they lie about everything, But yeah, I haven't been a big TikTok fan from the very beginning, other than I like the fact that there's competition in the marketplace where people need to feel like they have options besides Twitter, besides Facebook, so on and so forth, because it just blows my mind how much power these companies have and how somebody has not stepped up in order to compete with them and seen, wow, I can actually make a competitor to Facebook and steal some of this money. Not steal, but get some of this money. It blows my mind that some of these tech companies don't, even just from within, executives don't just leave saying, yeah, I see 7 ways to Sunday that I can improve this and make more money. It seems like the normal rules of supply and demand and the normal economic rules of the marketplace just somehow don't apply to these tech companies.
But to that point, do you like hearing that there is a competitor to these American tech companies? It's basically owned by the Chinese, not government, but I mean, like, the information goes to the Chinese government, much the same as Apple sends our information to the U.S. government. Now, I mean, how about this? Hold on. Someone brought this up in chat. Very fascinating thing. I'm trying to figure out how to get it so I can show it up all on screen. I might have to just move very quickly to the other camera for a second. But I want to talk about something with you guys. There was some controversy, I guess, drama. Actually, OBS is freaking out, so I don't know if I can show you guys these articles. However, there are some issues starting. I brought this up before. We were talking about the company Tencent. I believe Tencent was one of the companies India specifically singled out as aiding in China stealing a lot of information. Tencent owns 93%, I believe, or more of a company called Riot Games. Riot Games owns, amongst other games, League of Legends, one of the most popular games in the world. And let's get to what I'm really trying to get here. Software installed on computers. Apps, phones, whatever. I mean, an app on a phone and software on a computer. Talking functions and similar stuff here. A little more data on a phone. For some people do banking on their computer more than their phones. Some the inverse. Where it gets interesting is this. I brought it before too, when we were getting to the idea of how to potentially, having like countries ban certain products from other countries, right? Like maybe just China can't do this kind of stuff. But this latest game that Riot came out with, Valorant, was promoted. Nowadays, you're seeing commercials. It was originally predominantly promoted through Jeff Bezos' own Twitch. That was the predominant driving force to get people to install this software on their computer. Now, here's the thing. It's not only installing the game itself on their computer. What's very interesting is the kind of game this is, people are very concerned about the notion of cheaters in the games. I got a point here. I'm getting to the reason. And they actually said they spent years on the game just making sure that it was stable so people didn't have lagging issues. Well, anyway, one of the ways to make sure no one's cheating is they would have you install something called Riot Vanguard. Riot Vanguard was software that would go on your computer, and it would be to prevent cheaters in this game, Valorant, that, again, was encouraged to be installed on your computer. By the way, Vanguard must be running to play this game. Piece of software. Now... Here's the thing that's really interesting. Most anti-cheats function a couple of different ways, but Vanguard's anti-cheat function a little bit interesting. So I'm reading to you guys. I'll post the article itself. Like I said, normally I'd throw it up on screen for you guys, but right now I'm having some issues with OBS getting both that and the Zoom going through. So here's the link if anyone wants to read along with me. But I want you guys to read. Keep in mind that the company Riot that they're talking about here is owned functionally by Tencent, which is one of the biggest not data companies, but a big media company in China, if we're going down the line of China stealing too much information. I'll read this. So, what is Vanguard? Vanguard is Riot's new anti-cheat software, and right now it's being used to help protect Valorant from wall hackers and aimbotters cheats. Once installed, Vanguard will run at Windows startup unless uninstalled. Trust me, that is true. Happens to me every time. Now, there are two parts to it. A kernel mode driver that runs when your PC boots up, and a client that checks to make sure you aren't running any cheats while you're playing Valorant. The kernel mode driver is the client's bodyguard. Basically, it doesn't collect data about your PC or send anything to Riot. It looks at other drivers and blocks them from running if it detects that they have a known vulnerability that could be used to compromise the anti-cheat client. A little bit gobbledygook, just stay with me. So, if Vanguard's driver isn't started with Windows, Valorant won't trust your PC and you won't be able to play. That's why you have to reboot after installing Vanguard. So what is it? What does it mean that Vanguard's driver is in kernel mode? If we were in a 90s hacker movie, the kernel would be the virtual reality sphere of green code where the final showdown takes place. It's the core of your operating system where the most basic functions happen, such as allocating system memory to different programs. Software that runs at the kernel level is the greatest level of control over your PC. The primary argument against letting Riot run a kernel mode driver on your PC is that if someone found a security vulnerability in it, the consequences could be much worse than if a vulnerability were discovered in regular user-level software. Now, they insist that there'll be no vulnerabilities, but the reason I wanted to bring it up is because it's really interesting. If the U.S. government is talking about, and see if, again, I'll post the links so you guys can read along. Sorry, I can't actually have it on screen. But actually, hold on a minute. Let me try something out. This might be a little ghetto, but it might work. Cover me up a bit. No, sorry, it's not working. If for whatever reason my display capture isn't working and I have to screen capture this. Anyway, the United States is looking at banning TikTok and other Chinese social media apps. But what they reference in the I want to see if they have the actual quote, but what he references is the idea that basically Can't find the exact quote, but what he was referencing is specifically security issues. The data is being transmitted from American users to Chinese servers. I mean, if Riot is owned by Tencent, which is one of the big Chinese companies, and they are basically insisting you install software on your computer to use their program, it's a very popular video games, popular product, and that software they insist you install basically gives them access to the most important functions of your computer to do whatever they want, allegedly. Now, they probably won't because they want the game to keep going. But it's just very interesting. When I was reading that TikTok was stealing information off people's clipboards, I was like, that kind of reminds me of that Riot software that people were like, it looks at everything your computer does and has access to everything it does in the name of anti-cheat. But we're talking about this is company owned 93% by Tencent, which is a massive Chinese media conglomerate. So, weird stuff. I thought it was funny someone brought that up because it was immediately one of the first things that went to my mind when I heard about these security issues with Riot and with TikTok. I mean, I was like, hold on a minute. That reminds me of the drama with this Vanguard software from a few months ago. But again, do you know it was one of the biggest driving forces in encouraging you download and install the software on your computer? Jeff Bezos' Twitch, American company. That's the weird thing.
Well, what was in it for Jeff Bezos?
Okay. I'm a little ashamed to admit this. A lot of people, myself included, watched a lot more of the stuff on Twitch than normally would.
So you think it was just a way of driving traffic, pretty much?
Yeah, because get the rub. You want to talk about driving traffic? This honestly feels like a scam, and you shouldn't be allowed to advertise this way. So the way Twitch works is they have what they call Twitch drops. Imagine this. Imagine if in the middle of watching our stream, you suddenly got an email that said, hey, you get, I don't know, $5 gift card to Amazon as a reward. It's like a drop. You're a lucky winner for watching our stream, right? They'll do that on streams on the Twitch platform. So the way they did this was a brand new video game came out. The most popular Twitch streamers were playing it on Twitch, and it was free. But the only way you can get it was a random drop in a Twitch stream. So a lot of people did what I did, which is I ran a stream at 140p, and I muted it, and I had it minimized in the background for about 24 hours straight. And I would just check my email periodically, and somewhere in that span. But a lot of people did that. And here's the thing. Jeff Bezos, not Jeff Bezos himself, right? He owns Twitch, but he owns multiple companies around it, right? I don't think he's not the CEO of Twitch. I just mean as far as ownership goes. But the people of Twitch, American company, are basically, I don't know why they have to do this, but when they go to sell ads, when they go to pump up, or when Jeff Bezos does go to say how many users are on his Twitch platform, do you think it matters to advertisers that the entire time I had the stream running, it was in the lowest possible quality, muted and minimized in the background? I think the advertisers care when they put money in front of nobody. So it helps Twitch. They get the lie and say, look at all these people who watch our stuff.
Yeah,
it helps Riot because they get to go to advertisers and say, look, when we launched our game, look at all the people that watched. When in reality, if you had a vague cursory interest and you kind of wanted to play it, all you had to do was basically trade with Twitch your viewership for 24 hours or more. Whether you're watching or not, it just had to be on. And anyway, this was to get you to install essentially spyware in your computer. A lot of people have some much stronger things to say about the Vanguard software than I just read, but all of this is to get you to install software in your computer that monitors everything about it. Weird.
Well, and this is total par for the course for the way the Chinese operate, because every single person I've ever known that's done any kind of engineering deal or any kind of large-scale project with a Chinese partnership says the exact same thing, that you go there, you decide where your building's going to be, what factory you're going to have, so on and so forth. You meet a couple of executives, right, who also just happen to be members of the CCP. Okay. And then they say, look, we've signed all the NDAs, we need now to start working on these patents and figuring this and that out. And they demand access to the computers, and it's part of the partnership program. And they just end up stealing all the intellectual property that you have in your company and manufacturing inexpensive versions of it. And for some reason, Americans keep falling for this over and over again. We fell for it when they said, "Look, let's open up trade. You know, you guys are going to be able to sell to our massive 4 billion person market, while we'll also trade with you and make things less expensively, so your quality of life goes up." And they flooded our marketplace with all their cheap crap, but then never ended up buying our stuff. And then when they do buy versions of our stuff, it's like they have like I think they make like 50,000 fake F-150s every year. They have an entire Apple store. You know what I'm saying? That's like full of just contraband Apple equipment. Like when they sell American products, they're stolen or else they're counterfeit. And then what's weird is we're banned all over their country. I mean, I don't know how we haven't figured this out, but I mean, here we are talking about an announcement about potentially banning TikTok, or at least, not allowing people in certain sensitive positions to use it for security questions. Dude, like 90% of the US internet is inaccessible from China. How on earth is this a trade deal? How on earth is this a trade partnership? How on earth is this considered at all mutually?
Uh-oh. I think I might have lost him there for a minute. Let's see. Hopefully we'll get Cardin back in a second. He is in the field and by remote. Oh, is he? I don't know. Appears that we're still a little bit going in and off. But no, I mean, but beyond that, the larger thing, I think we've got him back. But I mean, what do you think about the idea in general, though, Cardin? Just in general, the concept of, because by the way, I don't see why it should be different if you're living in a country in Europe that's unfriendly to us. If you're living in Russia, if you would download American software, it steals your data and send it to an American company, right? Like, just that idea is kind of interesting, is it not?
No, it's a Trojan horse, and
dang, you're sorry about that, guys. We'll see if we can get that fixed a little bit, but see if we can reconnect or something and get that fixed and get Cardin back on, because it looks like we're having some issues. But again, because as you could see, he is enjoying the beautiful, lovely beach weather there in California. I'm not that I don't want to get more specific. I don't know if I can get more specific than that. Here, I'll see if I can get Cardin to try and just reconnect or something. And let's see if we can clean up some of this stuff. But just while we're on the topic of various different, now that we're getting into a lot of this stuff, it's reminding me of a lot. And I really am just, I don't understand what's wrong with my, I really don't understand what's wrong with this. I can't do the window capture for the articles. I don't know why. Normally I can, and I cannot do it right now, and it's really frustrating. But what I want to talk about is just the same idea, and it's really interesting. So if we're going to start from the premise that it isn't good that there is, I mean, remember, was it Edward Snowden, right? When he came out, after he was trying to explain to us was, look, guys, they're just stealing data off all your stuff and sending it to the government, and they're tracking you, and they're keeping track of things they shouldn't be keeping track of. They're doing all kinds of things they shouldn't be doing. This is bad. Nobody voted on this. Nobody asked our permission. They shouldn't be doing this. Now, it's one thing when American companies do it to Americans. As an American, it's one thing when an American company does it to people in other countries, right? But it does start to get a little bit weird from the perspective of the nation. We talked about this the other day, but I totally forgot about this. But another company, while we're on the topic of Tencent, that Tencent had invested very heavily into, was a company called Epic Games. Now, I don't believe they're a majority holder like they are with Riot. I know it sounds like I'm talking about a lot of video games, but these are really just massive multinational, they're massive companies that extend across borders, right? People play these games all over the world. League of Legends and Fortnite, you could say, are two of the most popular games in the world. Probably about right? We have League of Legends is 90+% parent company owned by Tencent. And then we had, now I'm not trying to say Tencent's some evil, awful thing, but like, imagine if it was like, I mean, most people basically are like, oh yeah, Apple steals all your information and sends it all to Apple, right? That's one thing. But we're not, if you're an American or if you're in Western Europe, you're probably not going to have, issues with Apple using that data for the government to do anything, nefarious. But the thing is, and it goes both ways. If I lived in China, I mean, the Chinese government's a little bit, more strict than they are here, you could say. But if I lived in China, I'd be a little bit less concerned about the fact that TikTok stole my data. Right? Like, okay, and like everything does. But it is weird when you start having it go across the countries. Because that's the one thing I'm trying to bring up here. That's where it is weird. I think that's where it starts. The implications start getting worse. Because yeah, right now it's fine. It doesn't matter that whatever country owns whatever stake in anything. There's no global wars or anything like that. Not even global wars. There isn't any like big conflicts in that. But if some point in the future something does happen, it could be as simple as just having like certain services turned off. It'd just be annoying. So it could go further than that and be worse stuff. I don't think it would. But then there's also some of the other stuff we're not. Sorry. Okay. Cool. I think Cardin reconnected. I think we'll put him back on. Let's check it out. Hopefully we are not lagging. So let's see. Cardin are. Wait. I gotta move the thing. All right. Cool. So, are you there? Hello.
I'm here, brother. I'm here.
Cool. Okay, we're back. Sorry, you were saying?
I just the whole Chinese thing just completely frustrates me from top to bottom. I mean, my entire life, I've just felt like, as an American citizen, no matter whether it's TikTok, whether it's a trade deal, whether it's just any kind of relationship with China, that I feel like the American company, the American citizen, the American consumer has been on the bad end of the deal. And I mean, I don't know if banning it is the right answer, but it's like I don't see. I don't see how they could abuse the information. Like, who cares if they?
Well, how about this though? How about this? Just to your point, really quickly.
Yeah.
It's not always. And I hate to say this because it sounds a little bit like rude, I guess. But here's the thing, man. If there are really smart people that are doing kind of unscrupulous things, that are very wealthy and have a lot of money and power and influence, they probably are pretty smart. They probably do got some pretty big brains. They probably are doing things that you would probably say, oh, whatever. And to them, they're like, you fool. How about this? Yeah. This is a big one. AI facial recognition technology.
Yeah.
Like, you need AI to study a bunch of different people, a bunch of different faces, a bunch of different expressions, a bunch of different X, a bunch of different Y, you need that to create these things. And we could talk about the nefarious, implications of face swap technology and stuff, right? But how do you perfect that? Maybe you perfect that by having millions of Americans provide you with countless millions of minutes of footage of them making every face from every angle. And maybe you run that through software. I almost like conspiratorial, but I'm just saying, like, you're giving up more than just... You're giving them a plethora of images and video that they can also do things with. And there's the implications of that as well. Uh-oh, looks like we lost Cardin again. God. Oh. Let's see, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, sorry, man, we keep losing you. Is there anything you could... I don't know what you could do about the internet out there, but...
Yeah, shoot, crap.
Anyway, we're here now. Don't you?
I don't know. I don't like it, Cody. It's a Trojan horse. I don't like it. Get rid of it.
Okay, I mean, it's tough. Now, I could think of 50 reasons to get rid of TikTok that have nothing to do with it being owned by China and it being used for data farming. There's a million other reasons why I think TikTok should be gone and banned. But no one asked me, unfortunately. So we're not going to get into those. But
how do you feel about just banning TikTok simply because they ban half of our crap over there? Like, why should they be able to make money on advertising, make money on data farming, and make money on even just controlling a market share of our attention? Why should they be able to do that when they don't allow us to get the attention of their citizens?
They do.
Through our social media platforms.
Not through social media platforms, but they do through other things. Because they still screen Transformers in China.
They allow like 10 movies per year, Cody.
Okay,
and they make them change 90% of the script.
And those movies probably gross over $1 billion US per year annually.
Yeah, but okay, so let's say 10 movies gross $1 billion each, and we're making 10 billion.
Not $1 billion each, probably about $500 million at most. Maybe a couple billion comprised total.
Who do you think's getting more out of the Chinese-American partnership right now? The Chinese or the Americans?
Depends on what we're getting and who needs more. I mean, I don't think anybody's mutually winning this exchange. I think we're screwing each other over in multiple ways. I do.
Okay. How so?
I don't think from the Chinese perspective, they're just like, oh, yes, America does nothing to frustrate, annoy, and screw us over ever. I don't think that's how they feel. I don't think they feel like, oh, these dumb Americans, we play them like puppets. They dance on our strings. I don't think. Maybe they feel, but I don't think that's the case, man. I think we do a lot of stuff to screw with China as well. Yeah, they have some things that they do that we don't. I'll say, top of my head, I can't just start listing options off, but also, in America, we don't really write articles complaining about how we're beating China in different ways. But yeah, man, I mean, like, we're like, here's the thing. And again, it comes to just my, I look at everything from every perspective, but dude, like, when you have two countries, I mean, it's funny, you can say opposite sides of the world, but we're actually closer to China than most other countries geographically, depending on what coast you start from, right? But you have two countries that they kind of make up opposites in many ways, and two of the largest powers in the world. Yeah, they're gonna, we're gonna compete over things. We're gonna have. I've always maintained, I don't think America will ever like actually go to war with China. I don't think China will ever go to war. I don't think Russia, China, or America will ever directly fight each other in a war because it just seems like they lose no matter what. Like no matter what happens, it'll shift up the power dynamics, and it's really difficult to ensure that in the long run you'll be okay when they shift the power dynamics up, as opposed to just maintaining the status quo. But who knows? Maybe China will say it's not good enough. They need more. Who knows? But it just seems like right now America, China, and Russia kind of have a lot more than anyone else does. And as long as they don't blow each other up, it'll probably maintain that way for like another 100 years or so. So, hey, that's just my take on it. But the bigger thing I'm trying to get to, though, with just the idea of the way the information is traveling, is it also totally makes sense, and it's totally in the interest of every state to say, hey, look, we don't want a bunch of data from our people going to another country. Because we abuse that data. That's our data to abuse. We steal their data, and we do stuff with it. You don't do that. That's natural, man. Every country probably should be doing that. So it is interesting. Like, I don't know. What do you do? I don't know. But yeah, I can definitely see why the United States would want to ban TikTok among other apps. I can see why India did. Because India might go to war with China. I don't know about, not like war, but they might actually have some more battles. Just in the sense of where I think it wouldn't make any sense for the largest superpowers to attack each other. It might make sense for those countries too. Still, so many people live in those countries, the war would be insane. I don't think there would be one. But it's interesting to, when the power dynamic isn't there. China's obviously a bigger, stronger country than India, right? It isn't obviously bigger and stronger than America in every metric. It has more people, yes. But I mean, it's not obviously the superior country to America.
Yeah, but do you feel like you mentioned the power dynamic between China, Russia, and America as being the top three, okay? Do you feel like America's footprint is growing? See, when I hear stories like this, it just makes me feel like the Chinese footprint is growing, because what they're doing with all the infrastructure they're giving Africa for free, what they're doing with all the infrastructure that they're trying to pump into Eastern Europe and other places for free, is basically the purchase of influence, and by default the lowering of the American footprint. And if we're in the business of trying to make sure that our rights and our lifestyle is preserved, wouldn't we want to be expanding our influence instead of just giving it away to the Chinese?
But we are expanding our influence all the time. I don't think the Chinese, I mean, like, I was explaining to you, where China's really expanding its digital influence as far as like in like businesses? It's really in video games and like social media apps, and mostly video games. I swear, I've like read a couple articles and I exist in that space and watch it happen over time. That seems to be where they're having the most success. I mean, the most popular social media networks in the West, because like, obviously the apps that are popular in India and China have the highest user bases. There we go, globally. But if we're talking about stuff that's popular in the West, where you don't have billions and billions of people in these countries, the most popular apps in the West still look something like Telegram, Facebook, Instagram. Isn't it Facebook, Instagram, Telegram? Nothing to think about it. Aren't those all the same thing?
Well, Facebook Twitter is the same as Instagram. I don't know about the others.
I think they might own Telegram as well. I might be wrong.
Okay.
But then you have Twitter, and you have like YouTube, and those are the big. Those like, is in the West. That's what we use primarily. Those are the big ones. Those are all like American. Those are American companies, or started in America at least. So it isn't like that. And then what are the movies we are watching being produced in China? Are the TV shows we're watching being produced in China? Like it'd be one thing if a Game of Thrones level phenomenon was produced by the Chinese government and like made in China, and then it'd be one thing if like the Chinese like China like owned and like not owned but it was like made their own news network in America, kind of like an RT, and that was where we got our news from. And everybody used Facebook, but it was a Chinese. Like that would be like where I was like, yeah, that's weird. It does kind of feel like that's way too much influence for one country to have in another. Again, as an American, I say that, even though that's what it's like in many countries. People that are with American stuff, with like, the biggest movie of the year is an American movie, and we use American apps.
I feel like movies are going Chinese though, Cody. Like I really do.
They're not.
Hollywood doesn't make anything but big blockbusters now, and every major producer for the studio system is constantly worried about whether or not their big action blockbuster is going to be able to make it into China. And now half these writers that I know in Hollywood, they literally market their scripts as pro-Chinese. Or not.
That is true. That's
like they're like, oh, I'm gonna make a blockbuster Avenger movie, and don't worry, it's pro-Chinese. So it's weird. It's like it used to be the studios funded movies, and they discovered actors, and then they made the careers of writers, and they made films. But then what happened was they broke up the studio system, and then the banks started being the ones that started making films, and it became, instead of an art form, more of like an investment. And then now it's not even like banks that make the films, it's like Chinese mega corporations giving millions of dollars, okay, to have these huge action companies get off the action films get off the ground. And when you follow the money, you understand who has the control. And it seems weird. Like I talk to all my friends, and China is now like this big dark scary censors bureau that Hollywood hasn't had to worry about since the 30s.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, don't make a story in which the bad guy is Chinese, or else, don't make a story in which communism is something that needs to be fought, or don't make a story in which you actually mention that Taiwan exists or anything like that, because it might piss off the Chinese. And there's this big, huge boogeyman in Hollywood now that we may not get funding if you negatively represent the Chinese. So you have to ask yourself, is it an American industry if everybody's afraid of China?
Well, beyond that, which is like exactly what you're talking about, which is even more concerning. Go back to video games, because I know that world. One of my favorite video games, when it first came out, there was a character known as the Skeleton King, and it was a giant skeleton that walked around and did things, right? Now,
okay,
people who understand China and Chinese culture, ain't no way in hell you getting the skeleton that walks around past Chinese censors for a video game. So they changed it, removed it for everybody. Now the reason
why not?
Don't have something about like that is a big no-no. Ghosts and skeletons, big no-no for Chinese. For the Chinese censor board.
Get out.
Will not allow. Oh,
really?
The amount of video games that have had to have skeletons removed from them because they couldn't get through the Chinese censors. But the larger thing is it is sometimes easier to, like I said, instead of having multiple versions of the game, for some things they would, by the way, do that, where they would have some things, there'll be skeletons here, but we'll remove that. But sometimes for big things like an entire character of the game, or plot points of a film, as you pointed up, they'll just censor it entirely for everyone. Because there's some stuff where they'll do China cuts as well. They'll have American and a Chinese cut of a film with certain scenes. Yeah. But the thing here is suddenly, even if they are censoring it just to get it through China, we're now watching stuff through the Chinese censor here in America. And that is weird, right? It's like it's like in some subtle ways, maybe they don't have to produce the film and have it filmed in China. They just make sure only Chinese adjacent or Chinese acceptable values are espoused in it. And that is weird. I will agree with that point, man. It is weird, the fact that, I mean, you look at, now here's the thing though, also, a lot of the movies they do release, they do really tailor for China, right? It's like, I go back to Transformers a lot. That was one of the first big franchises in China from American films. I don't think the Transformers films were making these like big, deep political statements that it was really important weren't touched by the Chinese censors. Like, I think by and large, like the things that they would probably want removed and moved around are like, not that crazy, right? Like I think the Mission Impossible films, I mean, those are kind of goofy. For the most part, like something like a Game of Thrones still probably would mostly just adhere to the stuff. But it is an interesting wrinkle there, where it's one of the ways where sometimes to get stuff through the Chinese censors, it would be a big enough change where you have to remove it from all versions. So in a way, it's almost like the Chinese stepping across the censor. Because by the way, the game I brought up in the first place, the example I brought up, it's an American game invented in America, owned by Americans, that changed it for everybody globally to appease the Chinese censor board. So interesting. I also believe, though, I do have to say, I do think at the same time, that was also one of the reasons why they did it, just to be like, because China's not the biggest boogeyman of all time. I do believe one of the reasons that particular change was made for as well was some copyright issues they were having with another large American company. That an easy way to remedy it was to just make that change, I believe. Kind of behind the scenes, unconfirmed, but I heard the same thing. They would constantly they had issues with copyright with that character, so it was easy to change it. But still, like, you know, maybe in other ways, like to your point, we won't have Chinese, you know, terrorists, you know, trying to blow stuff for the Chinese government because they're not going to show that movie in China, probably.
Interesting. Okay, so I'm reading this article because I was intrigued about why China bans different skeletons, and here's an article from Tech in Asia that says China doesn't censor skeletons, the truth about game censorship in the Middle Kingdom. And it says China is one of the most misunderstood nations on earth when it comes to censorship. And yes, it's very trigger happy about censorship, but apparently it's not fast and furious about banning skeletons, but it does seem to definitely go against them in a lot of these cases. It doesn't like gambling related content apparently either, which I didn't know, or anything that violates its constitution or threatens its national unity, sovereignty, or territorial integrity, or that harms a nation's reputation. So who knows? Or anything that promotes obscenity, drug use, violence, or gambling. Sorry. So apparently they feel that it's obscene sometimes, that skeletons are a form of obscenity. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was, yeah, so I guess it's not like 1,000% any skeleton will be banned. But yeah, someone brought up in chat, I believe, sorry, I just didn't see your name. Similar thing happened with another game called Rainbow Six Siege. It doesn't matter what the name of the game is. They had a Halloween version of it, and they did a updated Chinese version of the update, and it removed some of the skeleton Halloween stuff. So, I mean, it's not like 1,000%. I think it has something to do with, I think they look at like, it's like obscenity and like with skeletons, ghosts, spooky stuff like that in general. They're not fans of. They will ask to have it removed.
Okay, so Cody, here's my only question for you: is what nefariousness could be performed with all of our facial information? What do you think the Chinese government could do with all of our facial information? Do you think they could start deep faking videos to influence our elections? Like, what do you think?
What I think the more likely thing is they'll use it to make their technology better. And when they have better, because I mean, like, I could be wrong, but as far as I've understood how like this AI kind of, you know, when they use AI to face swap or do deep fake style technology, right? One of the impediments, one of the roadblocks is they kind of need data to put in for the machine to learn off of. They need things for it to look at so it can be better at generating stuff, so they can kind of know how to fill in the blanks with everything. And maybe they're not going to deep fake any of the TikTok users that they'll steal the videos from, but it just makes the technology better. So when they go to do it, to maybe they'll use it to do it to some leader in Taiwan. I don't know, but
okay.
The problem is, how do we acquire endless every day? And here's something else that's interesting about TikTok down this rabbit hole a bit. Check this out, right? One of the main kind of gimmicks on TikTok, it's something any more video gamey style thing, and TikTok is a more kind of, not gamey, but was more active elements, not just like type and you make little videos and stuff, right? They'll do, and I don't use TikTok myself, but the way I've had understood to me is they'll have different like TikTok challenges kind of, right? Where everybody will kind of make their own version of basically the same kind of video, where you'll do kind of the same kind of dance to kind of the same kind of song, or there'll be, like, I think they did one recently where it was like, you'd dress up one way, and like you'd wipe a window in front of you, and then like you would edit it and have yourself dressed another way on the other side, right? But here's the thing, if they are using this data, these videos to plug in to help increase the AI machine learning, yeah, they probably would say, hey, we need a bunch of people doing this in a video. Well, let's roll out a new challenge that says, hey, everybody, do this. Then we can get hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of video of all kinds of different people doing this, making this motion. showing both sides of their face quickly. I don't know. Changing outfits quickly, weird stuff. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know how all this stuff works. It's just I have had it explained that basically the more data you can put into these, kind of machine learning stuff, the better they get. And it's kind of one of the roadblocks people run into when they're trying to perfect this stuff. Is just like, well, shoot, like how do you get enough pictures and videos? It was something that Facebook started getting in trouble with because Facebook was selling pictures for those reasons. I believe that was more facial identification, facial recognition. But same stuff, anything where having a lot of footage of people and a lot of content of images and videos of people's faces, any way that can benefit you, they steal that information from. Like I said, it might be in ways that kind of, quite frankly, is above our head a little bit in some instances, but it still helps them. And we still get kind of screwed in the long run. Basically, unpaid guinea pigs.
Huh. Okay. See, I'm just going through this and I'm thinking, how could you scam this and game this? Once, for example, my grandmother got a call all of a sudden from a Mexican number of actually inside of the country of Mexico. And the voice on the other end of the line presented themselves as the bailiff of a local prison. And they said, "Oh, are you the grandmother or relative of so-and-so?" And she named one of my cousins. And of course, my grandma says, yes. She says, "Oh, well, he's in a lot of trouble and he's going to be in prison unless he posts bail. And would you like to post bail for him?" And they said, "If you want to, you have to Western Union us the money," and everything like that. Unfortunately, at Western Union, they asked, "What's the money for? You're sending it to a foreign country." And she explained the story. And they said, "Hold on a second. Wait, we think this might be a scam." And so they stopped my grandmother from getting scammed because they realized that a racket that I guess one of the Mexican gangs was running was looking up the arrest records of different young people in the United States of America, and then finding out who their relatives were, and then calling them and saying, "Hey, if you don't give us the money by 5 o'clock today, he's going to sit in prison overnight." And if they weren't able to get a hold of that loved one because maybe they just simply didn't answer the phone or whatever, they might believe the story and then actually send $500 bail to Mexico in a completely unverifiable cash Western Union telegram, right? So that scam was fueled by the fact that social media existed and you could look up who was the grandparent of XYZ person that showed up in public records, right? So I'm just trying to figure out how a bunch of TikTok faces could get used on a large scale in order to do what these Mexican mafiosos almost did to my grandmother and all $100 out of her. How could the American public at large get screwed? Or how what kind of scandal could be mounted by them having all this info? Does that make sense?
I mean, I don't think TikTok specifically would be used in the way it's not specifically. I don't think something that's gonna have like family ties on it as much. To the point of what I said, man, is the people who own the apps are able to just for free. Maybe you could say it's part of the cost of doing business to have a free account with them. I don't know, but I mean, you're basically just, dude. If a country or a company has the most advanced AI, like facial recognition and kind of facial, like, kind of like digital reconstruction or whatever, face swapping software on the planet, they are insanely wealthy. They are very rich. They could charge top dollar for a very important service. And if they get that way on the back of millions of people without even telling them, that's a great scam because no one even knows they're getting scammed. The best kind of scam. No one knows they got scammed. You still scammed them. You still just tricked them into giving you a bunch of videos and photos so you could then go in turn and build software that makes you one of the richest, most powerful companies in the world. I mean, yeah, I think
that's the rub right there.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
To me, that's the rub right there because, like, for example, Adobe right now is the #1 editing software in America. The second is going to be Avid. The third is going to be Apple's Final Cut Express. Like when it comes to video editing,
Sony
all of that money for all of those editors worldwide that are Sony Vegas, yeah. I'm sure they've got a sliver of a market share somewhere. But as they get bigger and control more of a market share, that's better for America. And they got so much better because so much of that industry was here. Who knows? Maybe China's just trying to corner the facial recognition software market by just having the most superior algorithms because they gleaned hundreds of millions of hours of teenage faces in the United States of America for free for 10 years before anybody figured out that this was just one giant guinea pig test sample.
Well, I mean, I do believe, I'll see if I can pull it up. Facebook got busted selling photos for that reason already years back. I mean, we're like 6-7 years back. Because, yeah, it's a good scam. It's a great racket. You just get people giving you photos. I believe for a while, that was one of the big assets Facebook was sitting on, was Facebook was sitting on millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of photos of people that they technically held rights to. That they could. I mean, I do believe that's where you'd have the stories. Maybe not always from that, but you remember hearing some of the stories coming up. People being like people seeing themselves in print ads and being like, "What the hell? I never posed for a print ad." And it's like, I don't know, but like one of your photos somewhere was owned by the company you gave it to, and they sold it to a company that put it into an ad. And there's a lot of weird stuff like that where your information is sold and passed around. Marketing lists. I actually just read it. I read a story. I loved reading it. I hated reading it, but I love the premise. Such crap. Anyway, here's the premise. So, a bunch of people that had online stores were getting upset because they kept noticing that an individual by the name of John Doe with various Gmail accounts like john.doe47 or whatever, gmail.com, would go to their website, put a bunch of different things in the cart, and then never buy it. And they just did it all the time, all over the place for years. And some of you guys probably could already imagine why or where this is going from. But there's an article. These companies trying. Who is this John Doe? Who is this guy? Who keeps like our girl, right? Keeps putting all this stuff in the cart because they said it messes with their algorithms, messes with their data, it messes with their data sets because like they would try to remarket to people who left carts left full carts and it would skew the numbers. Anyway, it turns out what was going on, big surprise, is that Google would do that to just verify prices. They had a bunch of fake bot accounts that would go onto websites, add things to its cart, look at how much it was going to cost, and just make sure that those are the actual price. So if it does show up in the Google as the price, that's actually how much it costs. Not, all of a sudden they have weird store and shop fees they don't tell you about. Like, no, is this really how much it is? Now, apparently somehow that was uncommunicated for years, which I'm not going to get into that. However, there's a lot of weird stuff that goes on. And the only reason I brought that up, there's a lot of weird stuff that goes on that you would think, why is it a problem that random anonymous accounts add stuff to their carts and then not check out? Like, why would that matter? But and then the implication is, well,
they glean all kinds of info.
Yeah,
intelligence.
Unfilled cart. Well, here's the other thing. Some of these companies thought that it was competitors doing it to screw with their data. Screw with how many people put what there. Hey, if you put a bunch of crappy stuff nobody wants that no one ever buys in a cart on your competitor's website, maybe your competitor will order a bunch of this crap nobody wants thinking there's some demand for it or whatever. But now it was, of course, just Google doing it to check their data and stuff. But there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that we don't even see. There's a lot of ways for these companies to abuse information you give them that you'll never see or even know about. You'll never find out. Yeah. It isn't like your bank account will be drained. They can make way more money. No offense, they can make way more money off a lot of us than we have in our bank accounts. Most of us, really. With other stuff. By stringing us along, but not letting us find out. By doing stuff like just silently using it to build up facial recognition technology. And you know what? Is China a country you think that'd be uniquely interested in facial recognition technology? Maybe with some of the new national security laws they passed in Hong Kong? In general, they've seemed very interested. And in general, I know in America the right article saying it's racist or whatever, but I can guarantee you the Chinese government's very concerned with the actual facts that early on facial recognition technology struggled to differentiate between Asian people's faces. I'm sure the Chinese government's aware of that, and they know that, and they're trying to figure out how to get around that. They probably need to increase their stuff. Again, Westerners have the luxury of bickering back and forth of whether it's wrong or right to say that. But in countries where everyone is ethnically Eastern Asian looking, it matters to them for their technology and the services they use. I believe it's improved since, but there was famous stories that were going around when Apple first started really rolling out the Face Unlock, which is a rudimentary form of facial recognition technology. There was reports that in certain Asian markets, they were having issues. It wasn't working properly. Or like people could unlock multiple phones when they shouldn't be able to. Now, again, in countries where most people aren't ethnically Asian and the country isn't ran by them, they're not trying to do anything with them. It's a joke. It's a laugh. But if the Chinese government actually does want to have really sophisticated facial recognition software they can rely on to do a bunch of stuff they want to do, they're going to need to increase. They need to get around those problems, man. They don't get to say, well, it's offensive. They get to say, well, that's a problem for us that we have to address. So I wonder if that is one of the reasons why specifically something like a TikTok would be the... Now, again, I'm not trying to say because like China's the big evil boogeyman. It's just, hey, if you want to increase your facial recognition technology and you want to go outside to other markets to get other people to send you data, then yeah, an app like TikTok would be great. It would do just that. So
Yeah.
Oh, JFB, $2 super chat. Just a small tip.
You bring up some really good points there.
Oh, and sorry, a couple super
we
chats.
got a super chat too. You want to read that?
Yeah, JFB said just a small tip, $2. Thank you, JFB. And then $10 from Paul Singh. Have you heard of Adobe Audio Manipulator? If they have your voice samples, they can type out any sentence and the software will speak it in your voice. I have not heard of that, but I fortunately believe it 1,000%. Yeah. Another thing where, hey, I wonder why there's certain podcast companies encouraging random people to upload a bunch of audio podcasts. You know, I wonder what that does. I wonder how that benefits. I wonder how that helps. I wonder who. Obviously, a lot of stuff is kind of formed from they just want to make money off people doing it. But yeah, it's another interesting one. If you do need different audio prints of a bunch of different people, just hours and hours of people saying all kinds of stuff, then yeah, hey, I wonder who owns Discord, right? I don't know if Discord's doing it. I doubt they are. But Discord's rebranding and trying to go mainstream now. I know that, which is interesting. But just, you know, hey, it doesn't Zoom, I believe, link back to some Chinese company. But again, just video conferencing like this. I mean, yeah, audio manipulation is also important. We rely on audio recording still for people doing stuff, you know, unearthed audio recording. I believe the famous it wasn't. No, it wasn't. I was going to say, wasn't the famous Donald Trump Access Hollywood tape? Wasn't that just audio? But I think there was video too in that. Still, it's not good. It's not good. Oh, sorry, 1 second. Just having some connection issues with Cardin, guys. See if we can get him reconnected and stable really quick. All right, I think he's back. There, Cardin?
I'm here, baby.
Cool.
I'm here.
Yeah, it's interesting, right?
I'm far less worried about the video manipulation for now, just because 60% of the movie-going experience is sound, and these deepfakes aren't the most convincing thing right yet, but more so because of the audio than the video. As the audio gets really good, that's when I think deepfakes can get really, really dangerous. Because video at low resolution, fine, may not be the most believable thing, but that audio is what makes you think, holy crap, this person is really saying this horrible thing, or this nefarious thing, or this endorsement that they didn't really actually see or say. And that's when I think things get really, really dicey. Like, you're a little bit too young to remember what Photoshop did, but there was actually a period of time in which there was consultants who would try and look at a picture to see if it was photoshopped or not, and a lot of people were questioning whether or not we had to omit photos as forensic evidence because it was actually so possible to digitally manipulate them. And there was actually about an 18-month period where people considered, just like we don't use polygraphs anymore, whether or not we could even use photos anymore. So could you imagine a security world in which we actually question whether or not we can use video content as evidence anymore because it's so possible to deep fake it?
Yeah, I can actually, yeah.
like what do we rely on then? Our security cam footage. Like, hey, if we can't use it, what do we rely on?
Well, I think already they already can test a lot of the video evidence, right? How do you know it's actually so-and-so? How do you know it hasn't been? They already talked about video stuff being doctored or manipulated, you know, because they could do certain ways that just omit parts of security footage of the middle. It's why they'd have to be time-stamped and time-coded, but even, right? So there is some stuff, but I see what you mean to the point of where, like for example, imagine if what was the video of the video of the, it went viral and everyone complained and moaned about it for a while, and then they got sued at the national park. The kids and the guy with the tamarine. I forgot what that was even called. Anyway. Yeah, imagine if like a video like that goes live and people can't even trust if it's like, not even if they're being lied to contextually as to what's going on, but it's like literally, I don't even know if those are really the people in the video really doing the thing. Yeah, that'd be weird. And but we're already, I mean, we've seen some pretty good deepfake videos. Here's the other thing. When you talked about audio, dude, people still rely on video even without any sound. I mean, we've seen, I think about it, the very beginning of, because I think the way a lot of police body cams work is they're always recording and storing a small amount of data. And then that way, when they turn their camera on, it had saved the previous second. So it can grab, but there won't be any audio. It'll save only the video, the audio. They'll show and rely on just the few, 30 seconds without any audio. And there was of course, the stupid, this moronic cop in Florida who used to plant drugs on people. And I guess he didn't know that's how his camera worked. So, like, he plants the drugs on somebody and then turns his camera on, but the camera just shows him planting the drugs, but with no audio. That was still admissible evidence, right? Yeah. And then, of course, there was more. There's tons of videos of him doing that. He kept doing it a bunch. But, yeah, it's a weird, but again, it gets back to the idea of, though, because we're going to be wrapping up here in a little bit. But you get back to the main topic of, should we get rid of TikTok? Should TikTok be canceled? Really, the larger question is, if I was the United States government, I would probably say yes. That makes sense? The government probably does want to ban a foreign government's competitor from having that much influence in its company. But yeah, like, is what they do really that much different than what Facebook and Twitter does? No, it's just a different country owns the company. So I don't know. I think it's unfortunate to get this far and just say, I don't know. But really, I mean, from the perspective of the U.S., yes. From the perspective of the end user in America, I don't know. Will the end user really care that much that their data is being used to help make, foreign countries' software more sophisticated? And a larger question, is it up to them to make that decision and say, I don't care if the Chinese government's doing that with my videos. It's not up to the U.S. government to decide for me. I really don't know. What do you think?
I say ban it. I'd say ban it. And it goes against a lot of my values that are open marketplace. Actually, no, maybe not ban it, but I do not trust them. And if I were in a position to make that choice, I don't know, that fact that I don't trust them would be just such a huge part of it, because I don't see it benefiting America. I just don't see it benefiting America. You know what I'm saying? And that's ultimately what it would boil down to. But I would just want to get rid of it, because I view it as one massive vulnerability.
But should Americans be able to keep their money in foreign banks?
Yeah, like I'm
feel
not
like if we're talking about like good or bad for America,
closed borders guy.
No, but I'm saying this: if we're talking about just if you're using is something good for America as a rubric for if we should allow or not allow something, I would say Americans literally keeping their money in other countries probably
countries that are favorable to us. Yeah, like I don't have as much problem with
temporarily,
an American who's got money in a French or a German bank, because I'm not worried about them leveraging that money or any kind of power that they have due to their banking infrastructure against the United States of America. I'm worried about China doing that.
But what if it changes?
They lie about everything.
No, but every country lies about everything. America lies about everything. Finland probably lies about everything. Not to the... Okay?
No.
New Zealand probably lies about everything.
A whole new level.
Really? They lie more than America does. Shocking, because America lies about everything. Literally everything.
No, come on.
You remember the weapons?
Are you going Jesse Ventura on me?
I remember the weapons of mass destruction.
Is this RTTV, Cody?
Remember the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq? Remember those?
Yeah.
The ones that our government swore up and down were real and existed. And they didn't, and we found out they knew they didn't. How about look at the coronavirus stuff? U.S. government doesn't lie. Really? So it's just stupid? It just doesn't know anything? It's one or the other. I remember when the Attorney General had a Twitter, we made a video on it the day it happened. The Attorney General went on Twitter and said, hey, I see people wearing masks. Come on, guys. You don't need to be wearing masks. Now they'll shame you for it. It's like they're obviously just lying. The government lies about everything. Dude, how much money did the Fed conjure over the last 6 months? Just conjure up? The chairman of the Fed actually went on TV and did an interview where he basically defended the he's like, yeah, look, like, because money is basically digital now, we can just kind of generate it when we need to.
Yeah.
Like, it just, I mean,
Hey, we got a super chat.
Oh, let me get to that. But I do find it rich, right? I understand as an American. I have no problem being biased as an American, but I understand Americans are biased. Anyway, $5 super chat from Scapo. Answering Cardin. My main channel is Beyond Slow Motion, and I hosted Street Science on Science Channel / Discovery, specialized in phantom high speed work. That's really cool, dude. That is really awesome. Phantom high speed. That's really cool. And next,
yeah, we got to check that out.
$10
and then we got another one.
Yeah, $10 from JFB. In your opinions, how much of a person's data do you think people don't care about? For example, not caring if companies know about your purchase preferences. Do you have any hard red lines? That is I love that question, man. Fascinating question.
Internet search history. Internet search history, I think, is too revealing about a person.
Do you know?
I almost think it's
hold on a second. I have a question. Do you use Google Chrome? Which, by the way, if you use a web browser, the odds are you use Google Chrome. I think they have like a 90% market share or something insane, like an 80% market share. Well, Google Chrome knows your search history, dude. So Google knows your search history. All of it. I'm pretty sure. Even when you have, even when you're in like Incognito, like they have it. They just don't like. It's just other people can't see it, but they know what you did. That's Google, man. That's I am currently running this. Or I have my YouTube tab open in Mozilla Firefox. I'm one of the Firefox diehards out there. But no, I mean, Google Chrome is a massive market share. To get to the question, though, I think by and large what you would consider as personal information, you brought up a tremendous point as purchasing history, right? Like, yeah, dude, I don't know. If you phrased it in a way of it's being done, people might say no. But let me tell you something. Nobody complains that Amazon keeps track of everything they look at. They'll do the cursory, whoa, we're just talking about TVs now. I keep seeing them on Amazon, right? But like, no one's like, that's it, I'm done using Amazon. Even though it is kind of weird, they track everything you look at and everything you purchase and when you bought it and why. That is kind of weird. But I don't think there's any level of information people actually care about being stolen from them. When I'm talking about just on the general, on the whole. I haven't seen that one. People really get that. People will definitely be upset that their data is being stolen. We've seen that. They'll come out, Facebook's stealing our data. It's an outrage. But as far as individual things, as you mentioned in your comments specifically, like specifically purchase data, even just shopping cart information, right? How long you watch certain videos, most people are just like, I don't care about any of that. And it's like, dude, like that's the data they're really getting from you. Yes, your birthday is interesting. Where you went to school, okay, they steal that. Yes, your private pictures, they steal those. Yeah. But what they're really stealing is all the stuff to make money off of selling your like consumer avatar to people, basically. And then no one cares about that. Hard red lines for me personally, hard red line for me would be any app that I don't use my camera for that asks for camera permissions, right? Like anything that doesn't need images of me trying to get images. But I will admit, if I want to, how about this? I said all about that Vanguard software I talked about at the beginning of the stream. How it gives kernel access. I think I don't like that idea. I still installed that software and ran it on my computer, right? Like I wish I had a more red line, but apparently I, like most people, don't have one either, man. Uh-oh, you there, Cardin? Let's see.
For me, it's anything that they could. For me, it's anything that they could listen in on me with. So an app in the background while not in use that's requiring the use of the microphone, that would be a hard red line for me.
Yeah, again, I guess to the idea of, yes, microphone and camera access for apps that don't need microphone and camera access. But again, they don't really care about that stuff, man. They steal because a lot of these companies, if they need microphone or camera access, they'll just steal your information somewhere else. So anyway. My Melanade Scope, $2 super chats, a Cody Vacation Fund, $2. I'll tell you what, I will actually be out of town the 13th, 14th, 15th of this month, which is the beginning of next week, on vacation. So thank you very much, man. I don't play Valorant anymore. No. I did when it launched, or I did in the beta. I played it for a little bit, and then the only elements of the game I really liked were the CSGO elements, so I just played CSGO instead.
Also, I think it's really interesting here. Dreadful Cadillac 101 says, no, don't cancel TikTok. Why? I want to know, Dreadful Cadillac, why? Why shouldn't we cancel TikTok? Today's daily cancellation, we cancel TikTok. So, by the way, Cody, I just want to let you know that while I'm here in Newport Beach, I'm actually getting into Pokemon so that I can play with my son and teach him how to read. I decided my mother, when she was getting her bilingual teaching certificate, she was a public educator my entire life. I was raised by an elementary school teacher, and she did her master's thesis on the importance of comic books helping teach young children, especially young men, how to read, and that
Uh-oh.
early on actually had an accelerated literacy. And so I'm thinking, now that Magic has gone totally SJW, I can't teach my son how to play Magic. So I'm going Pokemon. For the first time in my life, I bought Pokemon cards this year, Cody, and I'm learning how to play Pokemon. Are we going to play online?
I don't play Pokemon card game, but I don't know. You know, it's funny. I play Magic the Gathering online still. I don't have any political beefs with Magic the Gathering, so I'll just play the game because I think it's still pretty fun.
Really?
Yeah.
But you liked Magic the Gathering online? I never got into it.
The Magic Arena, the latest version. I didn't like what was it? They had like Magic Duel of the Planeswalkers. They had a couple things they came out with I did not like, but Arena's pretty good. It took them a decade, but they caught up vaguely to where Hearthstone was in beta. But Arena's pretty good.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So, hey, we got another 5 more minutes left. Any more super chats? Get them out of your system. Any other burning questions?
Uh-oh.
Other than that, don't upload your face to TikTok. So, Borden says Google's getting sued about Chrome. Why is Google getting sued about Chrome, Cody?
I think a bunch of reasons. Chrome's all kind of... I don't use Chrome because of nonsense I don't like about it.
Like, yeah, it always freaked me out, too. You got me onto Mozilla Firefox. Yeah. I'm still a Firefox guy.
I've been using Firefox since I was like 12 or 13. But I just don't like Chrome also. It's heavy. It's not heavy is the word for it. It takes up a lot of your computer's... I think it's your processor specifically, or it's very RAM intensive. All I know is when it's running, I notice it. And when I have Chrome on in the background, I notice it. Even on computers where I feel like I shouldn't be noticing that I have, an internet browser running in the background, I did. So it's one of the reasons why I moved off of it. And of course, there's like, the joke. I don't even know what it's called anymore. Microsoft relaunched their web browser like 5 times in 2 years. I don't know what it is anymore. They just made me install a new Edge browser? Is it still called Edge? I don't know. But yeah, and someone mentioned, I think in the chat, that it's closer to 70%. Oh, so the tracking in the incognito mode issue. Okay, there we go. One of the reasons why I don't use Chrome is because incognito really just means like your coworker can't see your browser history on the same computer. Like, yeah. they were still tracking a lot of information that most people would expect not to have been when they go incognito. One of the funny things you can notice is you go to like Google Chrome incognito and it would basically give you the exact same stuff it normally would. It was anyway.
Yeah. So it seems like there's a lot of people in the chat that agree with you on Google Chrome. I never got into Google Chrome. In fact, the only time I ever used it was when we had our call-in shows, because a lot of the software would only work on Google Chrome. I was one of those old school Safari people.
It's not old school.
And I was when you pulled up that market share graph, that Safari is like less than 0.4% of America, I felt ashamed and I switched to Mozilla Firefox.
It's only the biggest Apple marks on the planet actually use Safari. It's like using Edge or Internet Explorer. Nothing is compatible with Safari. Safari sucks. Use Opera instead of Safari. Use the weird new gaming Opera they came out with. Use that instead of Safari. Use anything. Actually, don't use the weird
is
gaming.
Opera still
Yeah, they recently came out with a new version of Opera that's like advertised to gamers. They say it has like active like CPU throttle, like you can reduce CPU usage, and it's like, if I'm really worried about my computer's performance because of an internet browser running in the background while I'm playing a video game, I'll probably just close the internet browser and play the video game. But yeah, they marketed
That's
that.
really funny. I had no idea.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
so then Cody, before I go back to my familiar responsibilities here and everything like that,
Mhm.
what is something I have to do while I'm on vacay, bro? What's something I have to do?
Just relax. Find it. You relax. You have to relax. That's it.
No,
Sorry, you're
I
breaking up. Dude.
have
I seriously can't hear anything you're saying right now.
to go through.
I'm sorry, dude.
Oh, so,
I can't hear anything. Hopefully, see if we can get you to see if I'll see if it reconnects here in a little bit, and we'll bring you back in before we wrap up. But yeah, that's it, Card. Just relax. Fine. Take it easy. Actually, go on vacation. A lot of people leave their house and sleep in another bed and call it a vacation, but they never went on vacation. They just brought their stress and worry around with them all over the place. Not saying you are. I'm not saying you're a stressed worker. I'm just saying make sure when you go on vacation, you actually relax and enjoy the vacation. Too many people don't take time to enjoy the fact that they are where they are. So just make sure you do that. $5 super chat from Scapo, and he said, we should limit what apps can capture to only an app with obvious and distinct permissions, not just page 50 of TOS. TikTok captures virtually everything. I do agree that, I mean, because we played the video on our stream a couple of days ago of how the new Mac OS, or the new iOS version, the beta version of the newest iOS, it actually will tell you whenever anybody pastes, or whenever you paste anything from your copy. Oh my God, I'm blanking on the name of it. Anyway. And so somebody was on TikTok, and you could just see it was like a clipboard. It would just like paste it from clipboard, paste it from clipboard, paste it from clipboard. And it would just paste everything every 3 keystrokes. And that was even happening in the background. So I agree that data should, but here's the thing, man. They will come up with, I was looking actually at one of the laws they're proposing for, God, I forgot the exact law, but Andrew Yang mentioned it in the when he was doing, when he came out with this DDP of the new law that came out in California that kind of, actually lets it happen. And it was the way that companies had to let you know that your data is being tracked, and they had to give you an ability to opt out, and they showed all the things. So many people, man, will just click through yes. I mean, like, maybe have a limit that people, like, say, make it so people don't even have the ability to opt into their data being collected when the apps are closed, and it's just something that if they find out an app collects data in the background, they find the people behind it. Then maybe, right? Maybe, but it's tough again to get in and tell them what they can or can't do. My melanated scope, $2 super chat. I believe this is a reference to what Cardin should do on vacation. It is smoke a J and eat a mango. It's definitely on the relax train, man. Definitely on the relax train. But yeah, I'll give it another minute. Yeah, I don't know if we'll be able to get Cardin back on before we have to go. Let's see if we can reconnect one more time. And then, here we go. Let's see. You there, Cardin? And I lost him again. Okie dokie. So, it looks like Wi-Fi is not going to improve there at all. So, anyways, thank you guys very, very much. Let's see, Cardin, you there? Can you say bye real quick? Okay.
yeah. Adios. We'll
Okay.
see you guys in the next one.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Same. That's it. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Thank you everyone who came in with the super chats. Thank you guys. Have a very great rest of your day. And we'll be here same time again tomorrow. So take care, everyone.